Okay, we're gonna watch this video. I want to see how we've kind of seen the straight news of like what's going on in Iran so far. So let's go ahead and see what the Fox spin is gonna be with the current situation. Uh so yeah, let's go ahead and watch this one. This is Jesse Waters on Fox News saying they are getting desperate. Let's see how much of this is cope and how much of this is real.
Fox News alert, Pakistan's back on. Whit Kush arrives tomorrow in Islamabad.
Whit Kush, is that what he said? God damn it, dude. We are so unserious.
Alert, Pakistan's back on. Whit Kush arrives tomorrow in Islamabad.
God.
I can confirm Special Envoy Witkoff and Jared Kushner will be off to Pakistan again tomorrow morning to engage in talks, direct talks intermediated by the Pakistanis, who have been incredible friends and mediators throughout this entire process, with representatives from the Iranian delegation. Look, the Iranians reached out, as the president called on them to do, and asked for this in-person conversation.
Vance is on standby and will go to close. JD's counterpart, the head of the parliament, has been sidelined. They're playing good cop, bad cop. Deal or no deal, Pete's ready for war.
Our blockade is only growing and going global. And as the president said, we have all the time.
It's just like, okay, yeah, just one more sanction, just one more blockade, just one more ship, and Iran will collapse. Like, we've been trying to sanction them forever, and they have built like one of the most resilient economies in the fucking world. Like it's like 90% internal, like their like internal production and stuff of all of the things that they need for war. They don't really need external, like they don't really need external sources of revenue that much, honestly. But also the oil portion is only like 10 to 20% of their revenue, and they have the land routes, like I said before. So like, let's say we've maybe knocked out like 10% of their revenue, like at the most, if I had to guess. That's nothing during wartime. That's nothing. If you're during wartime, you don't really need to worry about things like balancing budgets and whatnot. You just have to be able to produce the necessary tools of war, which Iran will still be capable of doing.
Time in the world. Iran has a historic chance to make a serious deal, and the ball is in their court. Either way, the War Department stands ready for what comes next, locked and loaded.
Locked and loaded. But also, we used up 50% of all of our missiles and all of our interceptors in 6 weeks of war. So that means at most we can go another 6 weeks. Then we have to wait for our incredibly efficient $1.5 trillion Pentagon budget to create a bunch more missiles, which, like I always say, we build like 10 missiles a year. So I guess we'll just fire 10 missiles at Iran every year, and that'll be us in a perpetual state of war. But yeah, we use up 50% of all of our missiles and interceptors in 6 weeks. So that means we have a grand total of 6 more weeks of war before we are completely out. And that would be if they would allow us to go completely out, like from a military perspective, because they would want to, have some missiles and some interceptors for like defense purposes, like actual America defense purposes, not just like the one true ally Israel defense purposes. So so that's probably why we wanted honestly a ceasefire so badly, is because we went through all of our stocks so quickly. And so they weren't really expecting this whole thing to last this long. And then once they started getting down to 50%, they were like, oh God, what if we get into another war? Or what if someone attacks America? Then we would be fucked, So, or the way they think a lot is like, what if China invades Taiwan or whatever? So yeah, I don't know. I think that if we start up again, like I said, we have 6 good weeks that we can go, and then like all of the missiles stop because we don't have the ability to produce more in America.
The commander-in-chief's given out shoot-to-kill orders, so the Mosquito fleet better watch their 6.
President Trump has authorized the United States Navy to destroy any Iranian fast boats that attempt to put
sorry, Jesse Waters is just such a fucking dork, dude.
mines in the water or disrupt passage through the Strait of Hormuz, to shoot and kill. Our commanders have clear rules of engagement. If Iran is putting mines in the water or otherwise threatening American commercial shipping or American forces, we will shoot to destroy. No hesitation, just like the drug boats in the Caribbean.
Yeah, the fishermen. We saw a story recently about one of those fishermen who, it turns out, yeah, he was just like some dude out fishing, and it was like the worst day of his fucking life. Like, he survived, which is probably why they were double tapping him all, to be honest. They didn't want any stories like that getting out. But yeah, I mean, sure, I'm sure that we're hitting some of their actual boats or whatever. Have we fired on them since the ceasefire, though? I don't think so, right? Except for that one cargo ship or whatever. I think we fired on one ship, but I don't think we've been firing on boats as far as I know.
The Navy currently undertaking a major minesweeping operation in the Gulf with the best tech money can buy.
That involves unmanned underwater vehicles, which are essentially, looks like a torpedo, essentially, and it, transits the certain area with side scan sonar, synthetic aperture sonar, and looks for any sort of shapes in the water. It's not.
Are we sure that it's even like mined? Like, I'm still not convinced that they actually like dropped any mines in the water. Like, we've been saying that a lot. I think that, like, I don't know, I don't really see the strategic benefit of doing that from Iran's perspective. Like, they have total and complete like military control of the strait without mining it. Like, they could just fire a missile and then send shipping to a halt, like they did, a few days ago or whatever. Like, I don't understand. There is no strategic benefit to mining the strait, so I don't know why America is so obsessed with this narrative. Maybe it's to like make us feel like we're doing something. A lot of times when like empires are overextended and they're in a war of choice that they can't get out of, a lot of the times they just keep striking the same things over and over again, or just do a lot of like feel good things to make them feel like they're doing something. So maybe it's something along those lines, just to have like a story out there or some sort of like narrative out there that we're not just like paying out, sitting spending $2 billion a day or whatever, just like having ships out there. Maybe it's just to make us feel busy. I don't know.
Not an easy task. You got to remember that this danger hazard area that the Iranians haphazardly and irresponsibly laid some of these mines, it's about 540 square miles of water space. So it's not going to happen overnight.
On top of that, Central Command's assembled the biggest buildup of naval power since the Iraq War. 3 aircraft carriers, the USS Ford, Lincoln, and now the Bush, are in theater. First time in 2 decades. They come with 200 aircraft on board and 15,000.
Yeah, so much for the pivot to Asia. You remember that when they were trying to extricate from all of our heavy resource dependent operations in the Middle East, trying to move those towards Asia to pivot to the actual threat, which was China, apparently. Yeah, so much for that. Apparently, Israel had other plans for us. Israel had other plans. They were like, you're going to pivot to Asia? I don't think so. You're going to pivot right the fuck back here to Israel, baby.
Sailors and Marines. And they're getting their protein in. CENTCOM says the men are eating over 12,000 eggs a day. Soon, the USS Boxer, along with its 4,500 Marines and sailors, will join the party with a fresh fleet of Ospreys. Meanwhile, the Iranians?
Yeah, that'll change everything.
A couple hundred Persian seamen and beat-up Boston whalers with Soviet-era AK-47s.
God, they're just so they're so dismissive, man. Sun Tzu would not be proud. They underestimate their enemies every single time. It's so funny. It'll lead to strategic defeat. You can mark my words on it. This type of hubris, it never goes unpunished in war. Like, this type of hubris, I'm assuming that, like, they are probably putting on somewhat of a show for propaganda purposes in America. But if behind the scenes they are even slightly as like Orientalist and underestimating the Iranians, this will definitely lead to one of the biggest strategic defeats like of all time.
The IRGC specifically has been reduced to a gang of pirates with a flag. They cloak their aggression in slogans, but the world now sees them for what they are: criminals on
Freedom
the high
fighters.
seas. They know that we,
They're like Luffy. No, they're freedom fighters, baby.
the United States of America, control the flow of global shipping, and we know that they know. Their real navy is at the bottom of the Arabian Gulf.
We're squeezing them like a vice. The blockades turned around 34 ships and counting. And the one that didn't turn around, now property of Uncle Sam.
The destroyer disabled the
What about all of those Shadow Fleet ones that went through? What about those ones?
Tuska's engine by firing 9 inert rounds from the destroyer's Mark 45 5-inch guns. The vessel then reported issues with their engine, went dead in the water, and began to comply with U.S. directions and orders. Via helicopters, U.S. Marines maneuvered quickly to the disabled ship, boarded her from fast ropes via helicopter infiltration methods, and took custody of the ship. The ship and her crew remain safe in U.S. custody today.
We took 2 more Iranian shadow tankers this week. One of them, the Tiffany, it's the same size.
And Iran has taken, I think, 3 ships as well, as far as I know. So it's like they're doing the typical just tit for tat, like equal escalation. Iran has also taken, I think, if I remember correctly, 2 or 3 ships as well.
Size is an aircraft carrier.
U.S. military forces and law enforcement forces also went to the ship via rotary wing platforms, fast roped onto her deck, and secured her. After the ship was secured, a Navy control team is comprised of sailors led by a boarding officer that assumes control of a seized ship in order to secure the crew, the cargo, and the vessel.
That ship was loaded with 2 million barrels of Iranian crude. Now it's ours. And the regime's getting desperate. They just brought one of their old...
Okay. If they're trying to do shipping through the strait right now, like that, I will almost guarantee you that they are getting Shadow Fleet ships out the door. It's impossible to impose like a blockade on this if you have a bunch of ships going through. Like, you can't stop all of them. I think that it's just a numbers game. Like, sure, you might be able to stop a few, as America has done here or whatever, but you definitely can't stop all of them. So I'm leaning towards like they're still probably shipping oil, if I had to guess.
Rusty tankers out of retirement because they're running out of space to store oil. They have to store it somewhere, and they can't shut down the well without damaging what's underneath. The regime's bleeding cash. Friday is payday, and they're garnishing the guards' checks. The country's already facing hyperinflation and mass unemployment, and every day we take a $400 million bite
just one more sanction. It'll solve the entire problem. They'll collapse any day now, any day, people. Just like they were going to collapse as soon as we started, as soon as this war. They were going to collapse, and just like they were going to collapse after we implemented all of those sanctions on them before. We keep praying for their collapse, and it just keeps never happening. So my tendency is to assume that it's also not going to happen this time.
Budget might not sound like a lot to us, but for them, it's like bombing their banks. Operation Economic Fury intensifying. Treasury just froze $350 million in Iranian crypto. And this is significant. Trump sanctioning the Chinese, their sugar daddy, a major Chinese refinery, and 40 shippers for buying the mullah's black market oil. The regime isn't even trying to win the war.
That's not gonna do it. Okay. America is fucked against China. There's nothing America can do against China. China has so many cards that they can play against America that like this will probably be, if this has any actual impact on them, they could just immediately shut off like the rare earths. I think I saw that they were reviewing some dual use exports or something to the EU. So that might be a retaliation for this, to essentially just punish the American vassal states over in the EU. So like, Okay, sure, dude. Sanction China. Let's see how that fucking goes, man. Let's see how that goes. It's not going to be pretty for America. If you thought prices were high on stuff now, uh, yeah, just wait until China starts implementing like export controls and stuff. And then also and stops like buying all of our like, you know, a lot of our product as well. But also, our entire military industrial complex depends entirely on China. You know, those 50% of missiles and interceptors that we've already blown through in 6 weeks of war? Guess the only way that we are capable of building those back up over the next, like, I don't know, it'll probably take 20 years to build them all back up. But the only way to do it is with materials and products from China. So, yeah, okay, sure, dude, sure.
Can't. It never could. They're just trying to hang on to power.
Within the regime, they're facing a massive water crisis, a massive currency crisis, and an opposition that's been on the streets 7 times in recent years, including most recently a few months ago, where hundreds of thousands of people were on the streets yelling death to the dictator, and the regime had to slaughter its way through that protest. So that is not a regime that is strong. That is a regime that is losing all its offensive capabilities and its internal control over its people.
You'll also notice that they haven't been out there at all since the war started, since everybody rallied around the flag and everybody is all, you know, rah pro Iran now. Yeah, they haven't come out at all as far as I know, the protesters.
Turn to ceasefire.
That's not to say that there isn't dissent in Iran. There's dissent in every country. But you're not going to be dissenting when your country is being like bombed.
Offensive capabilities and its internal control over its people.
Trump turned a ceasefire into a cage. Iran can't escape. They can't buy or sell anything to the world, and all their factories are flattened. So their economy can never come back without a deal. The regime's completely dysfunctional. The gay Ayatollah lost his leg and can't talk because his lips are so burned.
Oh my god, dude. The gay Ayatollah lost his leg. What the fuck is wrong with our media, man? That was one of the funniest stories where they thought that like they had some report that like the Ayatollah was gay, and then everybody in Trump, like in the Trump baboon like cabinet, like started chuckling about it to themselves. Oh my god, we are so unserious, man. This is ridiculous. What okay, Jesse Waters, why don't you go like deflate some more tires of your interns and try to get them to go out with you again. Come on, bro. I would much rather hang out with the gay Ayatollah over here than your date rapey ass. Like, come on.
He needs a facelift. The country went from a fearsome regional power to a gang of pirates. The leader even has a peg leg. We control the clock. All Trump has to do to win is wait. It's the opposite of a forever war, where we fought forever and never won.
If anybody was ever wondering what like pure unadulterated propaganda from a state outlet in Korea or something feels like, this is what it feels like. Okay, people, if you ever watch like like DPRK like propaganda outlets, like this is exactly what it feels like. It's a person telling you, like making you feel good about yourself over and over again, and telling you like over and over to your face exactly what you should believe and why you should believe it. This is the closest thing to like a North Korean like state media channel that you will ever see in America.
It's the opposite of a forever war, where we fought forever and never won. Now we just have to wait until the enemy says, that's it, you won. Iran
you're going to be waiting for a while, baby. You're going to be waiting for a while. Iran could sustain with this current level. Okay, let's say with the blockade and stuff. Let's say that I mean, I believe that the blockade puts a lot more pressure on the rest of the world and on America than Iran, but let's just take that out of the equation. Let's say that the rest of the world is going to be fine. Somehow America is able to produce all of the energy that the rest of the world will ever need in perpetuity. And we just keep this blockade on forever. And we have infinite money to continue to operate this blockade for the rest of time. And there will be no repercussions for all of these things. to the rest of the world. This is a completely disconnected reality from what's actually going to happen with the amount of pressure being put on America and its allies. But let's just hypothetically say that's the case. So if that were the case, I think Iran could sustain itself indefinitely. The same way that with all of the sanctions that we also said would collapse the regime, Iran sustained itself indefinitely. Like it's a very like resilient economy that they have created to be able to sustain these types of things. Like, yes, there may be some suffering. It may be hard for it may be hard for like some industries and stuff, but overall I think that they would be able to sustain this, like I said, indefinitely. Even with if there was no impact on the rest of the world. But the truth of the matter is that this is going to impact the rest of the world and America way more than Iran. It was the dumbest decision that we have ever made. It was probably the dumbest strategic decision that I have ever personally seen, like witness in real time in the realm of geopolitics, to maintain this blockade even after Iran said that they were opening up the strait. I think that it was probably the dumbest thing that has ever happened. But yeah,
Either surrender, go broke, or go back to fighting. Every option ends with them losing. Iran's got another set of problems: coups, revolutions, a Kurdish invasion. And we're using their infrastructure as a bargaining chip. With the assets that we have in the region, a max...
They also said that a while ago, and that never happened either. All of these things are things that they've already tried to like wish cast into existence, and it just has never happened. I think it would be silly to think that it would be even possible for any of these things to happen, given the amount of like consolidated control that the IRGC has during a time of war.
Pressure campaign looms. The 82nd Airborne could parachute into Karg Island. The Marines could assault the shoreline and hold key islands. We're prepared to conduct...
At the cost of like tens of thousands of American lives. Like, what? You just act like these are things that can just happen with like no cost. It's obvious, like there's obvious cost to doing these things that America wouldn't be able to like stomach. I don't think. Would America be willing to like lose tens of thousands of American troops to try to hold an island for, I don't know, like a few months or something? Like, I don't really think so.
Karg Island. The Marines could assault the shoreline and hold key islands. We're prepared to conduct major combat operations at a scale we haven't even seen yet. That means completely finishing off the Mosquito fleet, missiles, comms, radars, and a new layer of leadership. The regime's completely in control of its own fate. It's up to them to choose war or peace. Secretary Hegseth was asked about war and peace today, and here's what he said.
You changed the Department of Defense to the Department of War. Would you consider changing the name again to the Department of Peace?
It's a great question, actually.
Thank you.
You go from defense to war because you want to be proactive about peace through strength. When you fight a war the right way, the idea is on the other side you bring about peace. That is what we'd like to see the most. We are the guarantor.
I say change it to what it is, which is just the Department of Forever War. Like forever war. That's what they mean when they say Department of War, is it's going to be forever wars all across the world, like in perpetuity. Like I think that I'm not 100% sure where this conflict is going to go, because since we got through 50% of our missiles and interceptors in 6 weeks, I don't know if we're going to want to go into another hot war again, because we would go through them again. Like we would end up with 0 missiles in 5 to 6 weeks. So we might be ending up in a place of like perpetual forever war, like but with no actual shots fired against Iran, which isn't that dissimilar to where we were before with just the sanctions regime, which is like, you know, it can be viewed as an act of war. I think that we can't maintain the blockade stuff forever. That's like not possible because it's just too expensive. So, honestly, yeah, I don't really know, because there's not really much we can do about a lot of this stuff. Like like Iran can control the strait. Iran can fire on all of the bases in the region. Like Iran can implement a tolling system, especially like I said, because we can't keep up the blockade forever. It's too expensive. So like I don't know. It might just end up being a thing where we just kind of walk away, and Iran doesn't get sanctions relief, but does like maintain control and regional hegemony or whatever, like through their ability to project force. Maybe I don't know. We'll have to find out. This one's, you know, it's at first I was thinking that we would go into like invade or something, just because we're sending so many troops there. But it feels like they've been like pushing that back so long now that I'm starting to think that they don't really have the stomach for a full ground occupation. So I don't know. Who knows? We'll see. We'll find out eventually.
Tour of the safety and security of not just of our country, but of a lot of people in this world.
In 6 weeks, we've set the enemy's nuke program back decades. All 3 nuke sites are buried underneath.
Hey, I heard that before too. We set them back decades, like a few months ago as well in the 12-day war. So I'm assuming that we also set them back the same amount this time. Then I guess in a few months again, they'll be back apparently, because setting them back decades apparently just means setting them back a few months, according to the timeline since the last time they talked about this.
The enemy's nuke program back decades. All 3 nuke sites are buried underneath mountains of rubble. Their nuclear scientists are all dead. Their Navy, Air Force, air defense is gone. Their economy's in ruins. The Arab world turned against them, and their proxies aren't popping. The regime's never been weaker, isolated, and
Hezbollah is popping right now, dude. They're murking those Merkava tanks over there.
they have them totally surrounded. And the president has an ironclad commitment to taking the dust. And he says he won't be rushed into a bad deal. So this weekend, let's just say, could be interesting.
He won't be rushed. But don't it's not a forever war, people. He won't be rushed, but it's not a forever war. It's just a war with indefinite outcomes and no timeline. Don't call it a forever war. Man, Jesse Waters is hard to watch. He is difficult to watch, man. Because he's trying so hard to be you know, like the best propagandist he possibly can. Maybe I guess it probably works for the boomers that watch Fox News, but it doesn't work on me. Okay, people, it doesn't work on me.